Here we go. All right, welcome back, everyone. You know it, you love it. It's the Teach Podcast, episode 2.
Let's go.
I'm Dortmund. I'm happy to host again. Our 9 subscribers kept the email box, the Twitter box, the Instagram box filling up with requests for us to shake up our content a little bit. So here we are. Instead of talking about pro football, we're going to talk about college football today. I'm joined by Diamond D today. Diamond D, how are you doing? Live from PA.
Good. I'm doing good, man. You know, Wednesday night. Why not talk about some sports?
All right. Choosing to go no camera today because he has not shaved. A little insecure about his appearance. A Teach looking to keep his identity a secret, is always camera off. He will be joining us here shortly in a second. He is finishing eating a very healthy meal that he has right now. ER3 joining us. Tijuana, Dos Equis, unfortunately, may make it late, but has to do some schoolwork. He's working on his future. Gotta respect it. All right. So we're going into week 3 of the college football season, Diamond D. And there were some interesting games this past weekend. Texas versus Michigan, ranked matchup. And then, of course,
a great weekend of college football.
Yeah, a great weekend of college football, which is going to lead to possibly a disappointing weekend of college football. Let's talk about the matchups we have and if there's any that call out to you.
I mean, there's a couple of rivalry games, so I'm looking forward to Friday's game between Arizona and Kansas State. That should be a good game.
Yeah, 2 ranked teams. Arizona and Kansas State, I believe, same conference now.
And now she's serving it over to Jones in a blazing fest.
Yeah.
So that's
Arizona was one of my, kind of sleep picks to win the Natty this year, but they did not look good last week against Northern Arizona, so a little worried about them, but we'll see what they do on Friday.
All right, give me 1 second to fix this. All right, because we had an advertisement playing from that stupid tier list site that has nothing but advertisements all the time. That's
Alabama, Wisconsin might be interesting. I don't know.
It depends on how Luke Fickell coaches the team. Do you think he'll be exciting, interesting? Try to play to win. The last time he played Alabama was as the coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats in the playoffs, and really ran a conservative game plan in that game. Could have cost him because it was more competitive than the final score lets on.
Maybe he'll learn something from South Florida last week, who played really conservative against Alabama.
Yeah.
And honestly, had multiple chances to take the lead, and then Alabama ended up blowing them out in the fourth quarter. And that's what happens when you play conservative, man. You gotta take risk.
Oh, certainly. Now, one thing, Diamond D, there hasn't exactly been a team this year that's knocked your socks off. There hasn't been a team that outright looks like they're the favorites to win the national title. Every team has kind of sort of struggled at times a little bit. Early season prediction, I know it's a 12-team playoff, but who you're liking so far that's definite making the playoff picks?
Georgia has not struggled.
I mean, I think there's a big 3. I would say Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas are the big 3 right now.
Georgia, Ohio State, Texas. I think most would agree.
I would say the rest are on the outside looking in, kind of. Those are the 3 teams that have impressed so far. I mean, Ohio State hasn't played like any competition yet, but Texas just destroyed Michigan, and then Georgia destroyed Clemson. So.
Oh yeah, the Teach chiming in there for a second, discussing, saying that Georgia has not struggled. I think we all watched that first half against Clemson, and it's safe to say that at least then they struggled.
The thing about that is, Clemson's a good team, so.
All right, some other matchups to look out for this week.
I'm interested to see Memphis versus Florida State. Florida State's 0-2, and Memphis is 2-0. I'd be funny if Florida State goes to 0-3.
Yeah, tickets as low as $29. That's pretty rare for a Florida State football game. Do you think the writing's on the wall for fans there that the time of whatever the coach's name is, Campbell or some crap, or I don't know the guy's name, but
I don't remember what his name is. I mean, I think it's more about the quarterback, though. I mean, his time's got to be coming up here. if they struggle again offensively.
Oh yeah, his 7th season of college football will be his
Yeah,
last.
he's in year 6, so.
Oh, sixth, excuse me.
Oh yeah, and then Boston College. I like Boston College versus Missouri. I think Missouri's a little bit overrated, but Missouri's favored by 16 too. So I think Boston College is going to surprise some people there.
Yeah, Boston College had a pretty well thought out approach to their victory over Florida State. They controlled the clock.
Yeah,
They
they
played
made that
strong
one.
defense.
O'Brien is at the helm of them now, so
Oh, for sure. And then two matchups that also look interesting. Previous Pac-12 rivalries. One of these teams each remaining in the two-team Pac-12. The other two leaving the conference. You know, gotta love how money changes everything in the sports world. But Oregon
that should be
State,
two interesting games.
Oregon State, Washington State at Washington. Who do you like in those games, Diamond D?
I mean, honestly, I don't think Oregon State's very good, but they are 2-0, and they have a good defense, I think. But I know Oregon struggled in their first two games, but Boise State's also a really good team, so I think Oregon will go in there and beat Oregon State pretty easily. And then Washington and Washington State. For now, I'm just going to say Washington because I really haven't watched too much of either team.
Hey, that's fair enough. The only other two games really calling out to me, Tulane usually plays pretty well against ranked teams.
Oklahoma is coming off a 16-12 victory against Houston, and Tulane should have beat Kansas State. They were up for a majority of that game and ended up losing late. I think Tulane goes into Oklahoma, and I think it's going to be a good game. So.
Yeah, it should be closer than, it's looking like Oklahoma's favored by 13.5 points, but 16-12 over Houston, who's one of the worst teams in college football.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit worried after that one. And then Notre Dame's playing Purdue. That'll be interesting.
Notre Dame, Purdue, and then this one will be close, but it's two teams that won't really matter in the long run. UCF and Texas Christian should be a decent game.
The Big 12 is kind of wide open right now, so it's a big game for those two programs.
Oh, for sure. How about we jump to your rankings?
All right.
All right.
Yes, sir.
We're jumping to the rankings. So let's first look at the actual rankings, the AP Top 25. Georgia, Texas.
That's it all.
A lot of SEC love here, now with Texas being an SEC team.
6 of the top 7. I'm fine with Tennessee being in there, but I think Missouri is a little bit overrated. We'll see this week, though. They play Boston College. And then Penn State doesn't drop at all after almost losing to Bowling Green. I don't really get that.
They came out with a strong second half. They struggled in the first half, but came out strong in the second half. But yeah, it is Bowling Green University, remember, and it's Pennsylvania State.
They were in it the whole way, so.
No.
Oregon dropped too. I just don't agree with that because I think Boise State's a good team. So, I mean, obviously they haven't looked good, but I think Oregon's one of the top 8 teams in the country right now. And then I like Miami, but it's Miami at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
So you're expecting them to just blow up at some point, like they usually do.
Oh yeah, but in the weak ACC, really, one of those teams is gonna be in the top 4 college football playoffs because of the way the playoff system is formatted. Do they really deserve a top 4 seed?
I mean, if say they go undefeated or 1 loss, I'd say they deserve a top 4 seed.
All right, Northern Illinois.
You know what? You know what's confusing me on this?
What is?
LSU and Notre Dame. LSU lost to USC. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, and Clemson lost to Georgia. But Clemson is ranked 22, and Notre Dame and LSU are ranked in the top 20. It just doesn't make sense to me. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. They shouldn't even be ranked.
But now Northern Illinois.
Obviously, head-to-head doesn't matter at all because they're ranked ahead of Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
And then LSU is ranked. I just think they're ranked too high right now with 1 loss. I mean, Michigan's fine, I guess, but
Now, and part of the argument behind expanding the playoff from 4 to 12 teams was that we're going to see more respect from not small conference, but non-Power 5 or Power 4 now conferences in the rankings. And in your opinion, does that look like that's happening right now?
Definitely not. I mean, Northern Illinois should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame. I'm not saying Northern Illinois should be ranked in the top 20 because at the end of the day, they won by 2 points against a Notre Dame team that might just be fraudulent. But, I mean, I don't know why Notre Dame's still in the top 25, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. But
it's like the committee's just giving them a reason to be in the playoffs because Notre Dame has an easy schedule the rest of the way. So
it's like
if they go 11-1, they're going to be in the playoff, which is just dumb because you lost to Northern Illinois. But
because the thing that's interesting is it's still the same committee deciding. And I don't understand how exactly the committee works. It really just seems like people meet at a country club on the beach somewhere and talk about football in a room for 3 hours and bump elbows and eat too much food. And then put the teams they like or think the teams that we're going to make the most money in the playoff. Because looking at this, in the top 25, we have 2 teams that aren't Power 5. One of them is Notre Dame, who's not in the conference, and the other one's Northern Illinois, who beat Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like there's some teams that are maybe sitting outside this that aren't getting the respect they need.
Yeah. I also don't understand why Oklahoma is still ranked 15th after almost losing to Houston. At home, too, so I think they should drop, but, I mean, the Notre Dame thing just makes no sense at all.
No. Because an early season almost loss to a team that you put on the schedule for a guaranteed win, not a good look. But
it happened last year, too, I'm pretty sure. Or 2 years ago. It happened recently. They lost to Marshall. I remember it. It might have been last year, but they continuously lose to teams that are not in the Power 5, so.
Wow.
I don't know. I respect Michigan still being in the top 25 because they're the reigning champs and they still have a great defense, but I just don't get the Notre Dame love and the LSU love, to be honest. I mean, Clemson should be ranked high. Clemson just beat Appalachian State. It was a good program, 66-20. So I don't know.
All right. Well, transitioning from the top 25 rankings, the AP. We're going to correct the errors they made here today. We're going to make things right for some of those less represented teams. Diamond D looks at things objectively. He doesn't care how big or small the school is. Size never matters in this household. Diamond D, it's time for you to reveal. No, not that. Your college football top 25. Uh-oh, I clicked an ad.
Before I get to the top 25, I did do a next 5, like the 26 through 30. I'll just run through that quickly. I got Washington at 30, Iowa State at 29, Illinois at 28, Boise State at 27, Louisville at 26.
All right.
Those teams, 4 of those teams I just haven't seen enough of, and then Boise State I feel like is probably going to be the team that makes it from the group of 5. They just have to lost to Oregon. But it was a good loss, to be honest. So.
Over Memphis, you think? Because Memphis seems to be the one the pundits are picking.
I like Memphis, but, I mean, Memphis is going to have to beat Tulane.
That's true.
But Boise State also has UNLV and Fresno State in the Mountain West. The Mountain West is a good conference, so it'll be interesting. And then Northern Illinois is still in there right for now, so it'll be interesting to see who gets the spot out of the group of 5. But at 25, I have UCF.
Whoa. UCF.
I think UCF right now is kind of a sleeper to win the Big 12. I like KJ Jefferson, and I like RJ Harvey's one of the best players in college football right now. So.
Now, they haven't exactly played a great opponent yet.
This week is going to tell against TCU, but I think they're a good team. I've heard a lot of people talking about them as a solid squad, so that's why I have them at 25.
RJ Harvey's a solid running back. Their defense looks solid enough to carry some of the load, and their offense, that ground and pound game, they're going to control the clock a lot. Yeah, they're a solid
Obviously,
squad.
yeah, they haven't played anyone, so it'll be interesting to see what they do this week. But I think they're a good team.
All right, number 24.
I have Oklahoma State also in the Big 12. They beat Arkansas this week 39-31 in overtime, which is a game Arkansas basically tried to lose, it seemed like. Arkansas was up the whole way and then just dumb mistakes down the stretch, lost in that game. And Oklahoma State has one of the best players in the country as well in Ollie Gordon, but their quarterback is just not good at all. So that's the worry for them. But 24 for now seems like a good spot.
Sounds good. Moving on, number 23.
23, I have Northern Illinois, who knocked off Notre Dame. You know, deserve to be ranked.
Oh, certainly.
If you beat a top 5 team, you deserve, and you're undefeated, you deserve to be in the rankings. But, you know, obviously, it doesn't look like they're a great offensive team. So,
Oh, yeah. And what conference are they in?
the MAC.
The MAC? Okay. So they're in with... They have decent competition in there. It's not a terrible conference.
Yeah, I mean, Bowling Green's in it as well, and Bowling Green looked good against Penn State. So, it's not a terrible conference, but I think Northern Illinois might be able to make a run in there. We'll see, though.
All right.
Maybe it was just a fluke win.
Number 22.
22, I have Michigan.
Michigan.
They're 1-1, but they are the reigning national champs, and they lost to, in my opinion, the second best team in the country. So they got blown out, but I think they're still one of the best teams in the Big Ten and can fight for a Big Ten title.
So I guess he has Texas number 2.
They just got to fix their offense.
Yeah.
You know?
Number 21.
21, I have LSU. It was also 1-1.
That's interesting, because didn't you say earlier that LSU, you didn't
I said
understand?
they were ranked too high. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could have had Michigan ahead of LSU, but LSU has a really good offense, so I'm not worried about that. Michigan's offense, you know, I'm worried about them. LSU, I think, can hang with anyone offensively, so.
Losing
But
to a
obviously,
very...
they have a tough schedule. They're in the SEC, so I don't see them making it to the playoff, but they're a good team.
All right, moving on to number 20.
20, I got Syracuse from the ACC.
Syracuse. Now, Syracuse not getting any respect in the rankings whatsoever.
They beat Georgia Tech, who was ranked at the time. I don't think Georgia Tech should have been ranked because obviously Florida State's just not a very good team. So they barely beat Florida State, and then they didn't play great against Georgia State. So I don't know why Georgia Tech was ranked. But Syracuse kind of handled business at home. I mean, it was a 3-point win, but Kyle McCord looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now. So
That was a good pickup for him. It was a good transfer.
Ohio State might regret that in the long run, but it was a good move for him. So that's why I got him at 20.
I thought Donovan McNabb was their quarterback. My bad.
The Teach still living in the late 90s. Gotta love it. Number 19.
At 19, I got Oklahoma, who I said should have dropped a little bit. And I'm not saying out of the top 25, but they should be at around 19, which is where I have them.
That seems fair for him.
Their offense struggled against a Houston team and is not good at all. So, I don't know if we should be worried about Oklahoma, but they're 2-0, so I'll keep them in there.
Yeah, if they're struggling against teams like Houston, Oklahoma playing an SEC schedule this year, SEC West, I believe, that might not be the cleanest path for them.
They could be in trouble, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with them.
All right, moving on. Number 18.
18, I have Nebraska. I might be jumping on the hype a little bit here, but I think they're really good. I think their defense is really good, and their quarterback's solid. I mean, he didn't look great against Colorado, but I think Nebraska's a solid team. So
is beating Colorado that big of an accomplishment, though?
That's the thing, too. You got to look at, I mean, Colorado's might be the worst team in the Big 12, so you got to look at that, too. But, I mean, their crowd was electric, so I feel like they can they could probably beat anyone at home right now. They got a great crowd, and I don't think their schedule is too hard. I don't remember if I checked, but I think they're a pretty good team. So I got them at 18.
Moving on to number 17.
All right, 17 right now is my group of 5 pick, UNLV.
UNLV.
They are 2-0. They're said to have one of the best defenses in the country. And they beat Houston, who almost beat Oklahoma. They beat Houston 27-6 with ease. So they've looked good so far. I think they're a good team. But they play Kansas this week, so that'll be an interesting one.
Why am I not finding them on here? They might not be on here. University, Nevada.
They're here.
Where?
Next to UMass. There's UConn. It's in alphabetical order.
Next
Down
to
the U's.
they're under the U. Oh, okay. I was looking under the N's. Oh.
Yeah, they're next to UMass. They're going down a couple
U.
to the right. Bottom right next to UMass.
Oh, I see them. All right. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean, I might have them too high right now, but they looked really good in their first 2 games. So they're my group of 5 pick as of right now at 2-0.
All right. And number 16.
16, I got Boston College, who beat Florida State with ease, and I think they have a good shot at winning this week against Missouri. So that'll probably up their ranking as well if they can pull that one off.
And that solid squad. Number 15.
I got Kansas State. I mean, haven't watched them play much. They struggled with Tulane, which isn't really a reason to be worried because Tulane's a good team. But
Okay.
Kansas State has an interesting offense because they got a white quarterback who likes to run the ball a lot. So
That's pretty racist
that
of you.
oftentimes doesn't work great. But yeah, they're 2-0. So and they're playing Arizona, who I have at 14.
Arizona at 14. That'll be a good game.
Yeah, I think it should be a good offensive game as well. Arizona's wide receiver who had 300 yards the first game, though, I think ended up with like 20 yards in the second game against Northern Arizona. So
Wow. Still averaging 160 a game, though.
yeah, we should be expecting a big bounce back game for him, though.
All right. Number 13. Ball State Cardinals.
13, I got Clemson. And I know they got destroyed, absolutely demolished by Georgia, but, I mean, I think everyone right now kind of agrees that Georgia's the best team in the country.
You don't
And
find it.
Clemson,
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
Appalachian State is a good team. And Clemson just absolutely demolished. I mean, it was 35-0 in the first quarter. So, I don't know. I think they found something in that game, and I think they're the favorites to win the ACC. Still, in my opinion.
So you still have a one-loss team at 13.
Yeah, because I think they're gonna win the ACC. So,
All right. Well,
hey, they'll be in the top 4 with the ACC victory.
Interesting selection there. I'm not sure I feel so highly about Clemson against strong competition, but the ACC is pretty weak this year. Number 12.
12, I got Utah.
The Utes.
I believe Utah's the favorite to win. Yeah, I mean, they're the highest Big 12 team I have, I think. And they're the favorites by most sources, you know. They're the favorite to win the conference. But their 7th-year quarterback, I think, injured his hand, might have broke his hand. So I don't know if that's a reason for them to panic. But if he's out, and they're going to be in trouble because, I mean, he's got the 7 years of experience.
Yeah, but you know, it's not such a bad thing considering that a guy who actually should be in college is going to be playing for them now.
The thing is, though, if it's a serious injury, he's going to be back next year.
No way. He hasn't used up his eligibility?
No, he's gotten injured a ton. So, if he gets injured again, he can come back.
Why, dude? He could have been a doctor by now.
But
Or a lawyer.
yeah, I'm keeping at 12. I mean, I haven't watched Utah play yet, but they beat Baylor pretty easily, and I don't know who they played. They played some random team before that.
All right.
They are the favorites to win the Big 12. So
Number 11.
number 11, I got Penn State. I dropped them out of the top 10 for their pretty bad performance against Bowling Green at home.
Yeah,
Penn State has a very easy schedule, so I mean they're probably going to make the college football playoff.
That's pathetic. Every year, that's the frustrating thing. Every year, Penn State's ranked high, even though they lose to the only good teams they play on their schedule. Every year, they lose to Michigan, they lose to Ohio State. Doesn't matter.
This year they don't play Michigan. They play Ohio State, and I think they play USC. So if they lose those two games, I mean, there's still a chance they probably wouldn't make it, but they're usually in the top 10 with 2 losses every year. So I don't know, but yeah, I have them at 11.
All right, moving into the top 10.
At 10, I got USC.
USC.
They have a very tough schedule, so I mean this ranking could change very quickly for them as the season goes on. But their offense looked good against LSU. I didn't see them play their second game. They played some bum squad and won like 50-0 or something like that. So, but yeah, I think they're a pretty good team.
All right, number 9.
Number 9, I got Missouri. I mean, they're coming off an 11-2 season, and they have one of the best wide receivers in the country. So there is reason to have them in the top 10, but I just think putting them at 6 was kind of wild because they really haven't done anything this year. They played 2 terrible teams and won like 38-0 and 27-0 or something like that. I don't even know.
Well, they have their first 2 true tests this week.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do this week.
All right, 8.
8, I got Tennessee, who just absolutely dog walked NC State. I think it was 51-10.
It was something ridiculous like that.
I mean, NC State should have been ranked in the first place because they almost lost to West Carolina in week 1. I think they ended up winning by 17, but West Carolina had them for like 3 quarters. And you could just tell that NC State wasn't good at all, but Tennessee still just demolished them. So I give them credit, and their quarterback is supposed to be really good, so they should be in the top 10.
That's pretty bad. It wasn't even East Carolina. It was West Carolina.
Yeah, FCS team. They struggled with them. So.
Number 7.
Number 7, I have Miami.
The U.
I mean, I don't know what to say about the Florida victory. I mean, it was obviously a really good win in Florida, but is Florida a good team? I mean, that's what you have to ask yourself. And I don't think Florida's a very good team. But Miami's also in the ACC, which isn't like a great conference. So, and they have one of the best quarterbacks in the nation in Cam Ward. So they should be fine, but we'll see what happens. I don't think they're better than Clemson, but other than that, I think they're the second best team in the ACC.
All right. You're not feeling the Louisville Cardinals.
No, I mean I haven't seen them play, and I know their quarterback is Tyler Show. He's from Texas Tech. He's not a winner. He's never won anything in his life.
Wow.
In college. I mean, Texas Tech was like 7-5 both years he was on the team. Now he's at another school, so
that's pretty bad. All right, number 6.
Louisville's obviously pretty good. 6, I got Alabama. I don't have them inside the top 5 because they haven't looked good. They haven't looked really good, or they didn't look really good last week. I know they beat. Who did they beat the first? Oh, Western Kentucky. They did look good that game. They won like 60-something, but South Florida could have had them if they played with more balls. I mean, South Florida just played scared. So
it's a little interesting how we've gone from Nick Saban to now the new coach, the guy from Washington, DeBoer. And twice they've played USF under 2 different coaches, and both times they've struggled.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they just ran up the score late. It wasn't a 26-point game.
No.
But Alabama, they're still a really good team. Jalen Milroe, I mean, he's good, but I think he's a little bit overrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, the thing with Alabama is they could lose 3 games and still be a shoo-in for the playoffs.
Yeah, But I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see how they perform. Wisconsin's going to be a tough place to play in.
Oh, it's in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I should know.
So
It's not like I just looked at it.
I think it's going to be a difficult game for them, but I just don't think Wisconsin's offense is good enough.
Fair enough.
I think they play Georgia after that. I think Alabama plays Georgia pretty early in the season.
They readjusted the divisions within the SEC. It sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know what that's looking like now. I don't know if it's all just one big division. I don't know how it works now. But Alabama's playing Georgia, I think, on the 20. I want to say the 28th.
All right, let's see.
So a couple weeks from now, and I think Georgia will beat them pretty easily.
The SEC will not have divisions for 2024. Instead, teams will play 8 conference games plus 1 required opponent when the university. Okay, so it's no division anymore. There's no SEC East or West.
Yeah, so I got Alabama at 6.
All right, top 5. Number 5.
Oregon. I still have Oregon in top 5.
Oh, Dylan Gabriel.
Because I still think they're a really good football team. I think Dan Lanning's one of the best coaches in college football. I know Dylan Gabriel's just a disappointment of a quarterback, but he's good enough for Oregon to make a run this year. I don't know.
It's hard to root for him. He very much seems like a guy who only cares about himself, his persona, his brand. And he's played for 3 he's played for 3 different schools in 4 years.
Now, even watching these first 2 games, it just seems like he cares about his stats. But I don't think struggling against Boise State is really a thing to be panicked about. And I think Boise State's a good team. And Boise State's running back is an absolute beast. So.
But that doesn't affect how Oregon's quarterback plays. It's more Boise State has an okay defense.
Big Ten now, so it's going to be tough for Oregon regardless. I think they play both Ohio State and Michigan, so those will be 2 tough games for them. But I think offensively they're good enough.
All right,
I don't know. I still have them in the top 5. I still think they're a threat.
Number 4.
Number 4, I got Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
They haven't played a good team yet, but their quarterback Jackson Dart has looked really good in both games.
You got Ole Miss 4.
I think their offense is really good, so I think they're going to be a threat in the SEC this year.
Ole Miss is 4?
Yeah.
We'll just have to take your word for it. They always seem like a team who, kind of like a Penn State type, ranked really high.
Yeah, but
not sure why.
They're ranked really high this year because they're not usually ranked this high.
Yeah, they're not usually ranked very high.
They're usually ranked in the top 15. This year they're expected to be one of the best teams in the country, which isn't what they usually are, in my opinion. I think their offense is explosive this year, so I think they're better than Alabama.
They usually finish inside the top 10 over the last few years.
Yeah, because their quarterback, they got a really good quarterback now, and an all right coach, not a great coach, but
fair enough.
Ole Miss, the SEC's stacked, of course, so there's a chance they lose a couple of games, but in my opinion, they're one of the best teams in the country, so I think they can hang with anyone.
I trust you, man. I trust you.
Except for Georgia, probably.
That's the Teach chiming in there. Teacher.
What he said?
He says he trusts you.
Yeah. They haven't played anything. They won 76-0 both games.
Dang. All right, number 3.
Number 3, I have Ohio State. Same with Ole Miss. They've looked really good in both games. And Ohio State has higher expectations than Ole Miss with the transfers coming in. And the number 1 recruit in the country who's supposed to be maybe the best receiver in the country. So,
all right.
And you add Will Howard, who's a pretty good quarterback from Kansas State. And then they got Judkins from Ole Miss, who's a really good running back. So they're stacked offensively. But, Big Ten's it's not going to be easy. So
certainly not.
I don't think they're better than the top 2 teams, to be honest.
And a tendency to struggle in the big games to Ohio State right in the Ryan Day era.
Definitely. I mean, losing to Michigan back-to-back years is something you don't ever see as of late in my lifetime. You know, Ohio State's been the dominant program in that rivalry as in my life, but Michigan has beaten them the last 2 years. So.
With not very, I mean, I know Michigan went on to win the national title last year, but Ohio State certainly had more talent than Michigan did last year. That's the interesting part.
I'd agree with that. Michigan's defense was insane last year, but
that aspect is true. But the Ohio State's offense should not have been shut down that badly by Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm guessing everyone listening and watching at home can guess the top 2 teams.
Choose Texas. Longhorns, horns up. I mean, it's self-explanable. I mean, they went into Michigan and just blew them out. Michigan's first loss in 2 years, so.
And I'll just get ready to start moving the number 1 team up there.
And they made it look easy. So, definitely a reason to have them in the top 2. And then, I mean, Georgia's the favorite from the jump. They blew out Clemson, and then they just handled business last week against Tennessee Tech, which, I mean, they shouldn't be playing Tennessee Tech, but everyone has that week, so might as well take it early in the season. I don't know if Georgia plays. I don't think Georgia plays this week.
Already a bye? Oh, teams get 2 byes this year.
Yeah, I want to say Georgia's not playing this week.
That's right. Forgot about the 2 byes.
I don't know if Texas is either.
Interesting. But anyway, so right now, conference winners making up the top 4 picks, or the top 4 seeds in the playoffs. You have Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, and Utah.
My Big 12 pick right now is going to be Arizona.
It's going to be Arizona instead of Utah.
Yeah.
But Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, Arizona. All right, there you have it, folks. 1 through 25. Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Oregon, Bama, the U, Tennessee, Missouri, USC, Penn State, Utah, Clemson, Arizona, Kansas State, Boston College, UNLV, Nebraska, OU, Syracuse, LSU, Michigan, NIU, OSU, rounded out by UCF Knights. Charge on.
What do you guys think about this list?
I think it's pretty solid. The parts I'm not so sure about. 1 loss Clemson being so high. Don't really like that. They're a team that struggles with competition. I think we're respecting University of Miami a little too much just because they have 2 wins. Neither of them really being quality victories, but you know, they're probably on track to win the ACC. Other than that, I like it. I think you have it pretty much right, pretty similar to how I would rank it. Arizona State and Kansas State, you have ranked side by side. That's really interesting because that's going to be the game on Friday. So if whoever wins that game stays, and I'm guessing whoever loses drops out of your top 25.
Yeah, probably something like that. I mean, I'm hoping Arizona has a good game because I'm rooting for them.
Last part, I question Nebraska just because, you know, there's a lot of hype building around Nebraska that could just be hype.
Yeah, I need to see Nebraska's schedule, actually.
Let's look it up while we're here. Because I know a lot of people are, as ER3 would say, glazing.
Oh, yeah, he's trying to be Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. No, that's pretty lame.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, their schedule, they play Ohio State and they play USC. Those are the 2 tough games.
Yeah, but other than that, looking relatively easy schedule. It'll probably be a 2-loss or 1-loss team. Northern Iowa have been a team known to cause some trouble.
Yeah, that should be a walk in the park.
But there you have it, folks. College football top 25. We're going to move on. Lastly, we're going to wrap things up pretty quickly. We're just going to do our picks for week 2. Looking back on our week 1 picks, we did pretty solid in those games. I believe either 10-6 or 11-5. Not too many upsets, not too many surprising results. So let's go ahead and start with the Thursday night slate between Buffalo going down to South Florida to visit Miami. A rare good Thursday night football game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game.
So
It's exciting.
Diamond D.
I'm starting it off.
Bills or Dolphins?
I hate these types of games because I like both teams, and I want both teams to win. But I'm just gonna pick Buffalo.
All right, now I'll agree. We'll have the
Miami struggled against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Last week at home. I don't know if Jacksonville is still like a solid team, but I
Both-
don't know. I think Buffalo. It's gonna be a close game regardless.
Both teams kind of struggled in a similar yet different way. They both struggled in the first half to score points, ran kind of conservative offenses. Buffalo picked things up in the second half. Miami kind of picked things up. They had a big play from Tyreek Hill, but a bad 4th and 1 decision to go for it from their own 34 on Jacksonville cost them the game. But I like the Buffalo Bills in this one. I think they'll beat the Heat and go down and beat the Dolphins. The only way they lose is if they let the Heat get to them and cry baby because they're from upstate New York. But Buffalo in this one. The Las Vegas Raiders heading east to take on the Baltimore Ravens, coming off a tough loss by 1 foot. Do we have any reason to believe Baltimore won't win this game?
No. I mean, who did the Raiders play last week? Oh, they played they lost to the Chargers pretty easily, right?
Yeah, they lost to the Chargers pretty easily. It was a close game. The Raiders' defense is surprisingly good. Their head coach, former defensive player in the league, Antonio Pierce. So I guess it makes sense because he's coming from a realm of knowledge there. But they didn't look terrible. Really, one big mistake. Gardner Minshew threw just let go of the ball, and it was a backwards lateral, and the Chargers got the ball in their own territory. But not a terrible showing from the Raiders, but Baltimore should beat them bad.
Baltimore wins because they have the best looking quarterback.
Oh, Teach, where you been at, bro?
You guys been talking, man. I'll just let you talk.
See, that's just a Teach. See, that's what the Teach does. The Teach builds young men. He lets them lead the show. He allows them to learn, and you just have to be grateful for the leadership that the Teach brings to his own podcast. It is the Teach podcast. He's the title character, but he doesn't let that get to his head. He's always been there for us, Diamond D, and let's clap it up for him. Let's clap it up for the Teach.
This Glaze chat.
Yeah, right?
Dude, it's generational Glaze. All right. The Chargers beat the Panthers by 49. All right, next game.
I feel like that's one of those games, though. It's going to be a close game.
You think so?
Everyone thinks the Chargers are just going to go in there and blow them out. The Chargers didn't even look good in week 1, so.
No, but the Panthers looked worse.
Chargers should win. And Carolina should go 0-17, but.
The rookie receiver for the Chargers is going to have 3 touchdowns.
McConkey.
Carolina's going to get someone. Yeah, Lad McConkey's a dog, dude.
And then we have, surprising, these next 2 games here. 2 kind of decent teams. Games?
It's early season Cowboys, man.
Saints, Cowboys, and then Buccaneers, Lions. Interesting. It's weird to see pretty decent games early on in the season, but you like the Saints, Cowboys?
Early season Cowboys are great every year, dude. Cowboys are going to win.
I mean, I know New Orleans played Carolina, but it's the first time in a long time you've seen the offense of the Saints truly click. They always seem to have high expectations, especially since they got Derek Carr, and Derek Carr looked pretty solid. But playing in Dallas is maybe less difficult than people think, but the Cowboys, I think, are still a better team overall.
Both teams are frauds. Cowboys win.
I wouldn't say the Saints are really frauds because I don't think anyone expects the Saints to win. or win anything.
True.
Win the game.
I can see the Saints winning that game.
I would just say, like, I mean, are the Saints are the Saints in the conversation for anything this season?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Detroit Lions, two teams coming off wins, coming off division titles, played each other in the playoffs last year, so a revenge game for Tampa back in Detroit. Detroit having to defend their turf in back-to-back revenge games against both the Rams and the Buccaneers. I know Tampa Bay played Washington, but that new offensive coordinator looks like he knew something because last year's Tampa offense was extremely conservative. This year's Tampa offense looks like they opened the playbook a little bit. I like Tampa Bay in this one. They have the weapons to beat a weak Lions defense. What do you think, Diamond D?
I'm going to pick Detroit because it's in Detroit, and I think Detroit has become a tough place to play in. So
fans are energized.
I think it will be a close game.
It should be a good one. Teach, looks like you're going to have to break the tie on this one.
Both teams are frauds. Lions win.
All right, the Teach, valuable insight there.
Yeah.
The Indianapolis Colts coming off a tough loss, an interesting loss against the Texans. Anthony Richardson completing 9 passes, but still having like a couple long bombs that made up a lot of yardage.
Yeah, I saw the one pass was insane.
Alec Pierce, the perennial, you don't expect him to do anything, and then he kind of has a big play a game guy.
Yeah.
Did that, but they still come up short against the Houston Texans, who are a solid team as well, but the division's wide open. They're going to Green Bay, a tough place to play, but Green Bay without Jordan Love, starting Malik Willis likely.
They're cooked.
That shoes in Indianapolis for a win here, you think, Diamond D?
Yes, I'm picking the Colts. I mean, how long is Jordan Love out for? Because the Packers season, the clock is ticking for them now.
I'm not sure. It's not Love out for how long?
Couple weeks.
Oh, he's out 3 to 6 weeks. I mean, it's still, if they dig themselves a hole, that could be hard to come out of, but they kind of did that last year too, where they started off pretty bad and then won a bunch of games at the end and clinched a playoff berth. Cleveland looked pretty terrible. Jacksonville looked pretty all right. The game's in Jacksonville, but Jacksonville doesn't have a home field advantage. Diamond D, Browns or Jaguars?
I'm going to go with the Jaguars. Browns suck.
I'm going to agree with you there, too. The Jaguars have a competent quarterback, which the Cleveland Browns cannot say. Cleveland Browns looked disoriented on all fronts against the Cowboys. Defense was poor. Special teams were poor. Offense was poor. I mean, Deshaun Watson having 24 completions, which is about 6 less criminal charges than he has, or civil suits that he has, and still only having 100-something yards. A new case coming up this week. Pretty terrible person overall. Still doesn't affect the fact that Jacksonville's probably still a better team than Cleveland.
That game against Dallas was probably a hard watch for neutrals. I mean, as a Cowboys fan, it was fun to watch because it was just a blowout.
The shame about the Browns is they really are a quarterback away from being a pretty good team, potentially being a contender, which Cleveland has not been for a long time. Last year, Joe Flacco outplayed Deshaun Watson. I know Watson got hurt, but I mean, it's they have weapons on both ends of the ball.
They should have kept Flacco, to be honest.
They should, but I think Flacco's on a team.
Yeah, I know.
I think he's on Indianapolis or something.
Hey, remember Flacco's last game? Come on.
Flacco's last game, he got blown out, but
Blown out. He threw 5 picks.
he still brought the Browns to the playoffs. They didn't even give him
a
a
Browns team that should have been in the playoffs.
5 picks, dude.
All right.
But yeah, who was Cleveland's backup quarterback? I mean,
It's still Thompson Robinson. I don't think they signed anybody.
yeah, well, he's going to have to be ready because Deshaun Watson's terrible.
No doubt. No doubt. San Francisco 49ers blowing out the Jets. keeping their last year's form, looking like a pretty good team. Scored on 8 straight possessions. Aaron Rodgers didn't even have time to throw the ball. I mean, I know he runs the play clock down to 1 second every time, but San Francisco outclassed the Jets on all levels. Is that because the San Francisco 49ers are elite, or more because the Jets are overrated?
I mean, the Niners are obviously one of the best teams in the NFL, so I mean, they should handle Minnesota, but pretty sure they lost to Minnesota last year, if I remember correctly.
They did.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold didn't look terrible, I'm pretty sure.
No, he didn't. He had it felt like last week the Vikings in the first half started blowing out the Giants, and it felt like they almost it's like a wreck game where you start feeling bad for the other team, and so you kind of take it easy on them. Sam Darnold barely threw the ball in the second half. The Minnesota Vikings barely had the ball. Barely had the ball in the second half. Still went on to win. The 49ers, 49ers are just a really good team. But playing in Minnesota is tough. Niners probably win this one. You think the same?
Yeah, even though I hate Brock Purdy, I'm still going to pick the Niners. It's a safe pick. Jefferson, obviously, one of the best players in the league, so always got to worry about him. But San Fran should win, so.
All right. The next matchup is an interesting one because you have two kind of on the bottom end teams. One of them has a chance to go 2-0, give himself a little bit of a cushion. The New England Patriots coming off a ground and pound defensive beatdown of the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Seattle Seahawks kind of doing the same to the Broncos. This one's a toss-up, but it's hard to beat New England at home.
I think Seattle's going to win because they're the better team. So, I mean, New England.
Was it hard to beat New England at home last year?
That seems to never want to play good at the beginning of the season.
No, it was hard to beat New England at home last year, I think.
No, both teams sucks. The only people watching this game will be gamblers.
Both teams suck, but Seattle can make the playoffs.
Dude, Seattle ain't making no playoffs.
I mean, Seattle has. I mean, DK Metcalf is a beast. Got a couple solid receivers.
Metcalf's overrated.
You throw in Geno Smith, he's not a good quarterback, but he's not the worst of the worst. Brissett is the worst of the worst, dude.
Brissett is the worst of the worst, and I think Seattle's defense is just good enough. No, I still think New England wins this one. You like Seattle? Teach, break the tie.
You're picking New England. Oh, wow.
I am picking New England.
Oh, I'm breaking the tie.
Yeah, Seattle.
No way you're picking New England to be 2-0.
I think Seattle wins 3-2.
We're gonna put that score in.
Hey, love it.
All right. Two teams both looking pretty bad. Will Levis, that fourth quarter implosion cost the Titans the game. The Titans were kind of coasting by, taking a victory over a Bears team. It did not look very good.
Not an impressive win for the Bears at all.
Not an impressive win from the Bears. Impressive from the defensive side of the ball and special teams, but we're not. We'll get to the Bears later. My opinion on the Bears, the way their offense looked. Jets, Titans in Tennessee. Tennessee's defense held their own. I know they played Chicago, but their offense looked like 70s football bad.
I mean, Tony Pollard was really the only bright spot for them.
But is he a guy that can carry the load for the team?
No.
Against the Jets?
Tennessee's not a good team. And I think the Jets will win this game. I don't think the Jets are very good either. I mean, they look like crap. They played San Francisco, but, I mean, you still look like crap.
I'm going to agree a Jets victory in this one.
I think the Jets will win. I mean, Rodgers obviously is way out of his prime, but they could still win like nine games, maybe.
Now to the other team in New York. Giants going to Washington. I mean, I know it's
Seven people will watch that game.
that's
NFC East, baby.
That's NFC East football. Two teams that came into the season with a lot of hype, both getting beat pretty badly by their respective opponents. Washington had the best looking rookie from Jaden Daniels. He had a decent game against Tampa Bay, but will it be enough to even care about this game?
I mean, I don't care about it because at the end of the day, Cowboys and Eagles are the two best teams in the division. But I think Washington will win. I mean, Daniel Jones is terrible.
I like Washington in that one too. They just have more upside than the Giants do right now.
I think Giants win.
I saw some stat that said Daniel Jones has thrown like 2 touchdowns and has 8 interceptions since last year or something like that. I don't even know.
Yeah, well, that's true, but he was hurt last year, so that's a little bit of a skewed stat.
It's like a stat. It's a stat for like over like 4 games though, right?
Yeah, so that's not very good.
It's terrible.
This should be an interesting divisional game. The LA Rams, who lost to Detroit in overtime, Nakua out, lost their offensive lines beaten and battered, but that Arizona defensive front is not very strong, coming off a game where they gave up 34 to Buffalo in a game which they held a 14-point lead. 14-point lead in the second quarter and took a 7-point lead in the halftime. Arizona not really looking Marvin Harrison's way. In a lot of the offense, he was on the field a lot, but only saw 4 targets, 1 reception.
Jeez. Yeah, a little overrated on fantasy for sure.
A little overrated on fantasy football. I guess he needs to earn his keep or something, but it's odd to see. It's an odd matchup because it's 2 teams, both play decently, but both probably should have held on to win their games and didn't.
I like the Rams in this one. I think the Rams are the better team, and I think they're a playoff contender, so I mean, they'll get the job done.
I think the Rams are a better team. I think Nakua getting hurt adds a little interesting flair to this game because I think the Cardinals are going to really D up on Cooper Kupp. That's where I like the Cardinals in this one. In Arizona, the teach to break the tie. Rams, Cardinals.
I got the Rams.
All right, the Rams are getting picked. Diamond D, if you don't mind me talking a little bit about why I'm picking the Chiefs to win this game, without much of any hesitation. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, a guy who gallivants around the world, becoming a media giant more so than anything.
Guys, we have breaking news. Carnegie Mellon has scored.
Wow. That is breaking news, but say what you want, love him, hate him. Joe Burrow, watching the highlights of that game, has lost any and all velocity he used to have on his throws. I don't know if his injury is still lingering. I don't know if it's one of those injuries that you can't really fully recover from, but his completions, his incompletions, they just weren't good throws overall. I don't know if did you see that at all?
I think everyone in this game is I think everyone's gonna have the Chiefs. But I think Cincinnati, honestly, they probably just walked into New England thinking they were gonna win easily.
The game was in Cincinnati.
I think everyone has games like that,
Everyone has games like that, but I've rarely seen a guy suddenly, 2 seasons ago, he throws the ball well, they're playoff contenders, gets hurt last year, so I understand that, but having, a long time to recover and still having just nothing behind his throws, it's a little concerning. Cincinnati's defense is pretty solid. Kansas City's defense, you got who winning?
with you on Kansas City winning, but I think it will be a close game.
Is it in Cincinnati?
It's in Kansas City.
Yeah, which is the main reason why, in my opinion. But
I got the right offensive lineman for the Chiefs moving early on every snap in the game.
Jawan Taylor.
Yeah.
He's going to fall starter.
He'll get called like twice, but he'll move early in every single snap of that game.
The Pittsburgh Steelers coming off a 6 field goal Justin Fields start and win where they dominated the Atlanta Falcons.
Brilliant quarterback play by Fields.
Made that team look like a rec ball team, playing old school football, defensive, hard nose, to get the win over the Atlanta Falcons. I know the Falcons might be a little overhyped this year, but the Steelers have a team that's going to be arguably easier to defend in the Denver Broncos. So, Diamond D, picking the Steelers.
I'm not picking the Steelers because there's so many Pittsburgh fans up here and they annoy me. So I hope they lose.
Who are they playing?
They're playing the Denver Broncos,
Rocking with Bo Nix.
who looked just okay in their Week 1 loss to the Seahawks. The Broncos looked just okay. They're not going to be a bottom dweller this year. I don't think they'll be as bad as people think they're going to be, but they won't be a team that suddenly makes a big run at things unless they open up the playbook a little bit, because they essentially did a run-pass on offense. Defense played solidly, but they also played a Seattle offense that isn't very good. The Teach needs to break the tie here. Steelers-Broncos in Denver.
If Fields plays, Pittsburgh wins. If Wilson plays, I got the Broncos.
Let's look up Russell Wilson injury.
I mean, dude, I'm sure that Fields.
You can't bench Fields after he produced 6 field goals.
They're gonna go with Fields just because they won.
Russell Wilson, limited participant.
In life.
So, Pittsburgh Steelers. The Chicago Bears coming into the season a lot of hype. Number 1 pick in the draft, took Caleb Williams, who sailed a lot of passes. I remember one pass in the first quarter, watching highlights, where he had Keenan Allen wide open on a pass on a play from about the 50 that would have ended up at least the 5-yard line, possibly a touchdown Chicago. Their offense putting 0 points on the board. Everything coming from field goals and defensive or special teams plays. Going to play the Houston Texans, who are coming off a solid divisional, hard-fought victory against the Indianapolis Colts. Houston has that strong receiving core of Collins, Dell, and Diggs. Questionable defense, a more questionable defense than the Titans have overall. Do you think that's going to matter?
I think Houston's going to win this one pretty easily.
It's a no-doubter.
For now, I'd say yeah. I mean, until we see something from Caleb Williams, they didn't look good offensively. So
They didn't look good offensively, and you know, it's not like the Bears don't have a receiving core that compares to the Texans. They have more Allen, Odunze. The Texans lineup.
I mean, possibly better.
Possibly, depending on how Odunze shakes out. He looked pretty decent in the limited opportunities he had in Week 1,
Yeah,
but the in Houston, Texans have a stronger offense. Bears have a stronger defense, so it'll be an interesting game. It's a battle of a strong defense versus a strong offense. I just don't think the Bears really showed me enough to convince me that they're going to beat the Texans on Sunday Night Football.
And Houston's expected to perform offensively on a weekly basis. I mean, their offense, they got too many weapons to not perform. So,
Absolutely.
I think they'll win.
The Falcons playing another Pennsylvania team. They lost to the one with the strong defense last week. They're playing the one with the weak defense this week. The the Eagles have a weak defense. They did last year. They do again this year. They're going to force a lot of turnovers, but they're going to give up a lot of points at the same time. The Falcons didn't give their fans much to hope about in Raheem Morris's debut. Second stint as a head coach in the NFL. The Eagles looking like a pretty solid team. Really outside of the first quarter where Jalen Hurts had back-to-back turnovers on back-to-back drives. The Eagles looking like Eagles of old, what you'd expect from a team with as talented of a roster as they are. Their defense looking questionable. Do you think the Falcons step up and beat the Eagles in Philly, or are the Falcons just destined for another mediocre season and Philly's going to go 2-0?
Yeah, I think Philadelphia's going to be 2-0. I mean, I'm hoping that the Falcons continue to struggle and Penix can get a chance because, I mean, Kirk Cousins just doesn't look good.
No. And one aspect that I think is really interesting of the game within the game, Atlanta's center, I can't think of his name for the life of me, but he basically telegraphs to the defense when he's going to snap the ball because he kind of ducks his head down, looks down at the ground, and then when he snaps the ball, he always does it about 1 second after he brings his head back up. And I think that's just a tell that Philly's defensive front, which is very good, their secondary is not very good. Their Philly's defensive front is going to crush Atlanta in that aspect.
Yeah.
And so I like the Eagles.
Did you watch the game?
I watched the highlights of every game.
So how do you know
Last week.
You know the center.
Once again, though,
You know the center's
once again, though,
tendencies.
it's two teams that have a lot of weapons. One team just has a better quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's the game within the game. You know, I'm watching the highlights of most of the games. My three major takeaways this week are probably number one being Joe Burrow's arm strength deteriorating before our very eyes. Number two, probably going to be as dumb as it sounds, Atlanta's center, because I think that's going to crush their offense. They're telling every team's defense when they're going to snap the ball without even, you can change. We're snapping it at 10, we're snapping it at 1. Doesn't matter. The other team's always going to know when they're snapping the ball, and that gives the defense a huge advantage. And the third major takeaway.
I got breaking news. Carnegie Mellon has scored.
Oh, really? I'm behind.
It is 3-0. Terrible goalie play there.
Third major takeaway being Carnegie Mellon beating the W&J Presidents. But what do you expect when...
They could have used a defender this game.
Could have used a defender.
Hey, guys, I'm 3-0.
So after 2 weeks, no use talking about playoff picture yet just because it's 2 weeks into the season. We still aren't really sure who's good and who sucks. We have a good idea of that. But that's what we're looking at. And we got Mama Teach in the room. Just wanted to, Diamond D, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
No. Good little session here.
Hey, good show tonight. I know it's just the two of us, but it's always an honor to talk to you because you're very insightful on college football, very knowledgeable. It's just good to talk ball once in a while with someone who actually knows ball. You rarely see that in the era of social media, highlight leagues across the board. Just walking through things logically. It's a nice break. So I just wanted to reach out to the audience. Thank you all for watching. Thank all 9 of you for watching. I think we set a new record for most videos ever watched in an opening video of a podcast. We had 6 views. So let's clap it up for that. 6 views is good.
Thank you guys. Hey, we're going to start getting some viewers. Don't worry.
Yeah, we're going to start getting some viewers. Hardcore social media marketing. Because of the lack of viewership, no free hot dog this week. Teach not on the podcast, so we're not going to give away a hot dog as much as we love to. But anyways, we're going to look to next week where we talk about probably some similar stuff, but I think we should brainstorm over the next week, Diamond D, and maybe think of a more unique topic that we can throw in just to spice things up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right, then. Well, thank you all for watching at home. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video, or dislike, don't comment, and hate comment. That's fine. We can live with that too. It helps with the algorithm. We don't care. Thank you all for watching. Watching and listening to the Teach Podcast on YouTube. Have a blessed day. Bye. Now, how the hell do I stop recording? I forget every damn week.